Good afternoon, Habari Gani, everybody, and welcome to episode 4 of B2Deep. Tonight we have a very special guest, ladies and gentlemen. She is a mother, she is a grandmother, she is an ordained minister, and she's also an author of a book called Attracting Abuse and Dysfunction, Overcoming Pain to Find Purpose. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Kathlyn Strozier, how are you
Good
doing?
evening, everybody.
And how are you doing today?
I am doing wonderful. I hope everybody else is well.
Good deal. I hope everybody is doing well also. So this is our first time on the show together. So we're just going to start from the very, very beginning. From my understanding, you are from Griffin, Georgia. Is that right?
Yep, big town of Griffin,
All right.
between Atlanta and Macon.
Okay. So tell me, like, how was it growing up in Griffin?
Growing up in Griffin, it was okay. Small town Griffin. I tried to stay out of trouble as much as possible, but
Okay.
you know how that goes at times.
Right. So tell me how that was, like your childhood. So what were your
Well,
interests growing up, or like when did it all start for you to get to
okay.
where you are
Well,
now?
my childhood growing up, it was kind of filled with a lot of trauma and a lot of different things because I was the oldest child of three.
Hmm.
My dad, for I don't know why, what reason, but he would sometimes be really angry and he would take it out on my mom. He never took it out on us, but he would always take it out on my mom. So growing up, I saw a lot of that. I saw him like hitting her, saying really, really mean things to her. And I didn't understand why as a child, but I knew that once I got older, I was ready to go. I was really ready to go. But my whole thing was when I left, I wanted my mom to also go with me. I didn't want to leave her there.
Right.
So what I did in school, I just studied. I tried to make all A's or A's and B's. So that way, once I got through school, hopefully I would get like a scholarship or something like that. So that way I could attend college.
Right. Now, what age did that start? Did you start seeing that? Was it early on in your childhood, or was it more like a teenage year? Or
No, it was early on in my childhood. It was very early. It was pretty much from the time I was able to know, like about maybe 5, 6, or somewhere like that, until like teenage years, because I actually left home right before I turned 18.
okay. So, how did that affect your childhood then? Like to see that, like, in what ways did it affect? Did it make you trust people less, or did it make you angry, or how did that affect you as a child?
I mean, it really like made me angry, but it also made me not want to trust people, especially men. I
Right.
didn't want to trust men because couple that with the other abuse that I had suffered from a person in my family. Started at the age of 8, they molested me. So
Mhm.
that really like threw a wrench in there about not trusting people
Right.
because I couldn't understand why would you do something like this to a child, to somebody in your family that you're supposed to care about. And they kept saying you can't tell anybody, you better not tell anybody. And then they was like, if you tell somebody, they're not going to listen because they're not going to think that it was true. So I didn't tell anybody because I was scared.
Right. Wow. So during those times of you going through that, was that the gist of what your childhood revolved around? Like I know that pain was there. Was there another side? Like, did you do any kind of sports, or you were involved in the church back then? What things did you do as a child to try to compensate that pain and hurt you were getting from the abuse side?
No, I didn't do any sports or anything like that because I really I was not allowed to like do a lot of things growing up. I just stayed home. And the only time that I went to church was with my mom and my grandmother. I wasn't in sports. I did things in school. I like sung in the choir,
Hmm.
but mostly in school, I just studied and I read. I read a
Right.
lot of books. I spent a lot of time to myself because
Okay.
growing up, I also stuttered really, really bad. So,
Wow.
growing up when I would be in school and I would start to speak, kids would laugh at me, they would make fun of me. So I would just like, I'm not going to talk. I'm just going to study and I'm just going to pass everything and let that be. Because, kids was cruel. And,
Yeah.
I'm not sure about the school you attended, but we always had to read aloud. And I
Yes.
hated reading aloud. So
Right.
anytime when that started, I would like excuse myself. So I had to use the restroom or something. And I would
Right.
just stay gone as long as I could because I didn't want to read. Sometimes it worked. Sometimes it didn't work.
Right.
Sometimes I had to read anyway.
Right.
And if whenever I did, the kids would laugh, they would make fun of me because it was words that started with C, the
Yeah.
words started with S
Hmm.
and B and K. Well, my first name started with a K.
Right.
So I always had trouble with that.
Wow.
And it was just bad growing up. So, I just really like kept to myself a lot of times until I got to be a teenager now. I tell this story and I tell people, they
Okay.
look at me like, really? I attended my first football game my 12th grade year. And the only reason that I did was because I was a senior and that was the last game. But I had to like asked over and over again, could I attend that football game? And that was the only football game that I attended in high school.
Wow. So, with that being said, I'm going to go back to the reading part. Now, I understand you said you didn't like to read out loud, but you did enjoy reading as long
I
as it
did.
was
I did
just
enjoy
within.
reading. I enjoy reading. I enjoy writing, all of that.
Wow.
But I didn't like to read out loud.
Out loud.
I really enjoyed everything about school, all the subjects except for maybe history. I
Okay.
enjoyed math because I want to know about money.
Right.
I enjoyed science. I was that girl, we was in the science class where they like have the animals in there. We got to like dissect the animals. I was
Yes.
that girl. I wanted to
Okay.
be in there because I wanted to know, Other
Right.
girls was like, no, I want to see it.
Right.
I was there. That was me, but especially like science and math and stuff like
Hmm.
that. Everything except history. I didn't really
Right.
care about history.
So, what did you like to read about? Like, did you
I
like
like to
biographies
read
or
about
sci-fi?
everything, but mostly I was like the Harlequin, the love stories because I
Yes.
wanted to know about the people that live happily ever after. Because all those stories always ended with, and they live happily ever after.
Right.
So I like those. I like watching Hallmark. I like watching Lifetime because
Yes.
all those ended the same way. Everybody was happy because
Yes.
my life was not happy, so I'm like, okay, fine. I'm going to read about people that are always happy. I'm going to
Right.
watch movies, TV shows about people that was always happy.
Hmm.
Even though I was not, but I was still going to have some joy in my life by
Right.
others. So that is what I did.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the teenage years. You said you were talking about your out and how you wanted to take your mother with you. So, at what
Yes.
point did this start, and what happened?
That started like round when I turned 15, 16, I was like, okay, so I had to have a plan. So my
Okay.
plan was I was going to study, 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 and I was going to get into college.
Mhm.
And then when I moved, I was going to get a great job and I was going to take my mom with me. Well, I didn't attend college.
Okay.
And what I did was like I met this guy, the as I said then, he was like the love of my life. and he
Okay.
looked like Smokey Robinson. And when I
Okay.
mean he looked like Smokey Robinson, he looked like Smokey Robinson.
Right.
So I like fell hook, line, and sinker. And he was like military. So
Hmm.
he like promised me he was gonna take care of me. We was gonna travel. I forgot all about college. I
Oh
married
man.
that guy, and we moved to like different states and everything like that.
Mm.
And everything was good. Everything was good for a little while.
Okay.
But in my mind, I still worried about my mom the whole time that I was gone. So
Right.
I was like
Understandable.
calling her, checking on her, and everything like
Right.
that. And everything was good for a while. But then, my mom, I came home one year after, where it was right before I got ready to have my daughter.
Yes.
So I came home to stay because he was going to Germany. And so,
Hmm.
he was like, no, you can't stay here alone. So
Right.
I went and everything. And it was during this time that things had gotten really bad with my
Mhm.
mom and my dad. So my
Oh, okay.
mom decided to leave. Well, when my mom decided to leave, my dad wasn't happy with that. So
Right.
one day he followed her, and when he followed her, that's when he actually shot her. And
Mm.
he thought that when he shot my mom was dead. And then he turned around and he shot himself. He killed
Oh
himself, but my
wow.
mom didn't die. My mom lived. Praise God.
Yes.
So, it was really, I was just like, okay,
Right.
he's gone. He can't hurt her anymore. But I was still sad because that was my dad.
Right. Yes.
That
It's
that was my dad. That was the only dad that I knew.
right.
So I was just like, I just don't know what. So, for a long time, I was like really like depressed. I was angry. I was in this state of, I really did not care, but I knew I needed to care because I had a daughter.
Right.
So I
And that
had
has been.
to I had to like man up, as they say, and
Mhm.
help my mom. Once my mom was able to come home, and also by me being the oldest,
Mhm.
when my dad passed and his service, that means I was in charge of everything. I didn't know anything about that,
Right.
but I had to get help. But I did
Yes.
it, but I had no idea.
Now, how did you juggle? Because that would be tough. It's like you said, you know, abuse and everything aside, him shooting your mom and then turning on himself, and it's like you said, you love your mom, but that's still your dad. Regardless of
Yeah.
his faults, it's still your dad. How did you juggle getting through that, trying to take care of a daughter, help your mom, and just yourself?
Right.
How did you juggle that?
Well, I had to trust in God. That was the time where I had to learn that I had to trust in God, and I had to have faith in God that everything was going to be okay. I talked to like the pastor at the church. He
Hmm.
helped me a lot through that because I was like, I don't know what to do, because I felt like sometimes like I was losing my mind,
Right.
but I couldn't tell anybody. And besides
Yes.
that, I still had all that stuff in my mind of things that had happened to me as a child, because I never
Right.
told anybody about that. So I still had all that. It was like weighing heavy on me. But I knew that, hey, that was something that I need to just put it in the back of my mind. And I did. I put it back in my mind, act like it didn't happen.
Right.
But from time to time, things would happen, and it would like trigger me,
Yes.
and it would start all over again.
Right. So what happened after this point? Okay, your mom gets better. Did you eventually go back closer to her? Did you stay gone with your husband, or what
Well,
happened
I
at this
went
point?
back. Yeah, I went back. I went back with my husband because at the time we was moving to Germany.
Okay.
So I went back to him and I stayed with him for some years. And then I found that I was pregnant with my son. So by that time we had moved to Columbus. We had moved a couple of different places.
Mm-hmm.
But the last of it, we had moved to Columbus, and I had him. And it was during this time where he started acting up, start doing crazy stuff. And I was just like, dude, what are you doing? And I found out that he was cheating. So that really
Oh,
triggered me because I'm like, okay, I had said, Lord, I did not want to marry somebody that did those things. I said, Lord, I would like to have a husband that loved me,
right.
but I was not specific. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't say I wanted a husband that only loved me.
Right.
That word only was left
Yes.
out. So, I just said love me, and he loved me.
Right.
He really did. He loved me in the way that he thought was right, but it wasn't right. So
Right.
eventually, I left and came back to Griffin
Mm-hmm.
and continued on. But it was hard. It was hard because when I
I
was
can
married, I
imagine.
didn't work. I didn't
Oh,
have a job. I didn't have anything because he took care of everything.
right.
So when I got back here, I had two kids, no job, no place to stay.
Almost like you're starting over.
Almost like I was
Completely.
starting over. So I ended up stay with my auntie, but I stayed with her for a while. But I was like, I got to do better because they needed me to step up, but I didn't know what to do. So that's when I really started praying more, praying more. That's when I got more involved, like in church, and started doing things in church because I'm like, okay, God is here in all of this, and He has
Mm-hmm.
so far taken care of me, and I know He's going to continue to take care of me. But I was still out there searching for
Yes.
somebody to love me.
Right. So did it just tell me about the part when you said you started searching, you started, speaking with God, talking to God. Was it just one day you were thinking, or was it you just thought to yourself, I tried everything else, why not try God? Or did something happen that made you say, maybe grandma used to tell me to get down and pray? What caused that shift?
No, it was like, how we do. Well, I don't know how we do, but how a lot of people do. When we tried everything else and we talked to everyone else and nobody have the answer, that's when we turn to God. So that's what I did. I turned to Him. I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, Lord, I need you to help me because I've tried everything else. So now I'm coming to you. So
Right.
that was what I did. So, he allowed me to find a job. He allowed me to find a place to stay.
Okay.
And I was able to like do that. As far as having a car, I still didn't have a car. So I had to walk a lot of places with my
Okay.
kids, but it was okay.
Right.
We was okay.
Yes. Right.
We made it because my thing is sometimes you have to go through some things and it
Hmm.
will make you stronger. And if you don't
Yes.
go through anything, then you'll think life is just easy. Life
Right.
is just going to be like cookies and cream. And life is not like cookies and creams at
It is
all.
not. Hmm.
Life is hard.
Yes. Yes. I 100 agree with that. And even with my kids, I let them be happy and everything, but I don't sell them that wolf ticket of,
Yeah,
the pretty little rainbows. I let my son, and I will be letting my 2 year old also know, it can be hard sometimes, and I have to
yeah,
prepare them for that. I think my
that's true.
job is to prepare them for that, not to lead them on into something until it just hits them dead in the face. So,
Right. That's
yeah.
right.
All right. So, okay, you get out of this. Things are going back good. You're back was it back in Griffin, right?
Back in Griffin,
Okay. Now, what kind of job did you start working?
I started working at a restaurant. I was
Okay.
like Wendy's, which was one of my favorite places at the time.
Right.
So I started as a crew member at Wendy's, but I
Okay.
worked my way all the way up to assistant manager.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I worked hard. I worked
Goodness.
hard. And during that time, I was able to purchase a car.
Okay.
So, I was able to like instead of walking, I had a car. We was
Right.
doing good. And
Hmm.
I had this place where we was living. It was
Hmm.
based off of income. So that
Okay.
was good as well. So,
Right.
life was really going good. Kids were in school, they was doing well. Everything was fine, but I still felt like something was missing.
Okay. And
So
was that something love, or you didn't know what it was
yeah, it
before?
was love, but it was also really, I was tired of like going to work in that restaurant. Don't
Hmm.
get me wrong, I was glad I had the job,
Yes.
but it was like every day when I worked, when I left home, I was looking all nice and cute, in my outfit. Well, as cute as possible. But then by the time I got home, I smelled like grease. I was
Right.
like dirty, and I was just like, it gotta be more than this. It has to
Yes.
be,
Right.
But the only thing I had at the time was a high school education. So with high school, that was pretty much all that I could get.
Hmm.
So I decided it would be good to go to college because that's what I had said I was
Right.
gonna do a long time ago.
Hmm.
So I was like, well, maybe I can try it again. I'm older, but maybe I can try.
Okay.
So I end up going to college,
Where'd you go?
and from there, oh, it was just whoo to the top because I found out I loved college
Okay.
until that dreaded day when I had to take that class in speech.
Oh,
Yeah, you remember?
yes.
I stuttered,
Yes.
but you had to take that class in order to get your degree.
Okay.
I almost quit. That was my
Really?
last class. I almost quit because I was like, I am not getting up in front of
Oh,
people, grown up, and speak because I'm like, damn, they have too. But I had to like
so,
psych myself out. And I had this great teacher. She was like, you can do it.
hmm,
I believe in you. And I'm just like, uh-uh. So
right.
what happened is that one day I was watching this movie.
Hmm.
It was a guy on there. He had a speech problem as well. And he said what he would do, he would put something in his hand and like hold on to it, touch it.
Hmm.
And when he did that, it would make him it relax more. So I tried that and it actually worked. And
Wow.
that's how I got through that speech class. And
Wow.
that's how I got my degree. And I was like, okay, I can do this. If I did this, I
Yeah.
can do anything. I can.
So, what
So
school was
what
this?
I actually did was the same college that I was attending,
Okay.
I actually started working there as well.
Okay.
And I stayed there for 26 and a half years. So
Wow.
see, God was in all of that. God worked it out for me. And
Hmm.
yeah,
So, what school was it, or is it?
well, it started out Griffin Technical College here
Okay.
here in Griffin. Yeah. So actually I got that degree. Actually I got two degrees.
Okay.
And then from there I decided to go on and get my undergrad degree from Mercer.
Okay.
And then from there I went on to get my graduate degree um, online. But then after I got into ministry, so I
Hmm.
went back and got another degree in ministry.
Okay.
So I have a lot of different degrees.
Right.
Yeah.
Good deal.
But
All
I
right.
love school.
Yes. Okay. So we're leading all the way up to that point of your life. So now you're working at the school that you once attended. What's going
Right.
on through these years?
I didn't hear you.
What's going on through those years of being
Through
at the
those
school? Like
years,
everything's getting better. You got your degree. Everything's going good. So what's coming to your
everything's
in your life
going
at this point?
well. I got married and divorced two more times. So that was three times. But life happens.
It
But
does.
because my whole thing was I was not going to stay anywhere where one, I didn't feel love,
Hmm.
and two, where the person was was like doing things, and
Yeah.
it seemed as if they started out good,
Hmm.
but then they end up cheating, and I'm like,
Right.
what is going on? It's like, why is it that they start out good,
Hmm.
but then they end up cheating on me. So like that was really how I came up with the title,
Okay.
Attracting Abuse, because it
Right.
seemed as if I had a big magnet on my head that said, hey, pick me, if you want a
Right.
person that's going to love you, that's going to be loyal to you, and you can do whatever you want, pick me, pick me. So I felt that way because, like with me, I'm a loving person. If I love hard. If I love, I'm going to give it all that I have, and I'm going to ignore a lot of things that you do. So that was what I did. I ignored a lot of those red flags that I saw because I didn't want to be by myself again. Because I was like, I can't keep doing this. I can't
Hmm.
keep doing this. But after a while, God said, but why are you staying somewhere
Hmm.
where you don't want to be? Why are you staying somewhere where you're not happy?
Right.
So it's like I woke up and I was like, okay, fine. If that's the case, then I'll be
Hmm.
by myself because
Right.
I'd rather be happy by myself
Yes.
than to be here with a person that doesn't want me,
Right.
that doesn't really love me. They don't know how to treat me
Hmm.
because I was like, hey, I deserve better
Yes.
and I want better. So if that's not something that you want, then I'm out.
Right. Hmm. Okay. So now so again, life is what it is. You got the ups, you have the downs, all going on at the same time. Where did it become apparent that you were getting called into the ministry?
That happened in marriage number 3. I kept having these dreams. I kept hearing voices. And I was thinking something's not right because I keep hearing this. And so I talked to my pastor at the time. And so he was like, well, daughter, he said, yeah, God is talking to you. And he was like, well, he's calling you. I said, Pastor, God is not calling me into the ministry. I said, not me. I said, not all the things that I've done, not all the things that I've been through. God is not calling me. I was like, he must have me mixed up with somebody else. And I kept telling him this. And he was like, no, daughter. I said, Pastor, you don't understand. I said that the husband that I'm with now, that was at that time. I said, he does not want to be with a preacher, because that's what he kept telling me. Because his family, they had this thing about women preachers. So I
Yes.
knew if I went to him and told him this, it wasn't going to be good.
Right.
And it wasn't. Pastor said, no, you have to tell him. I said, okay, I'll tell him. I said, but I'm telling you right now, it's not going to go well. And it didn't.
Okay.
He told me, he said, well, I did not sign up to be married to a minister.
Wow.
And I'm like, I understand.
Right.
And he was like, well, you have to decide what you want to do.
Hmm.
And at that moment, it was not a choice
Right.
because, like I told him, you can leave me tomorrow,
Right.
but God would still be with me.
Hmm.
So it was at that time I said, no, that's
Right.
fine. So we split up and I moved and I went full force
Hmm.
into ministry. I wanted to learn everything that I needed to learn. I just wanted to just serve. I just wanted to do so much because I knew how God had saved me. I knew how God had saved my mother. I
Right.
knew how God had kept me through everything that I had been through. I knew because there was a lot of things that was going on that nobody really knew except God.
Right.
And he kept me through all of that. I never lost my mind.
Hmm.
It was just like, no, I'm choosing God because he chose me.
Right.
So that's when I actually got into the ministry. I was licensed in 2009.
Okay.
Yeah, I was licensed
Right.
in 2009. I was actually ordained in 2023.
Okay. Now, for people that may not understand that, what's the difference in being licensed and ordained?
Well, license, you can preach,
Hmm.
you can teach, but you cannot do like when somebody get married, you can't do a wedding, you
Okay.
can't do a funeral.
Mm.
So a lot of things you can't do when you're just licensed
Okay.
versus being ordained.
Okay.
But my thing was, I was good with just being licensed. I mean,
Right.
I really, I was fine. And
Yes.
the pastor that licensed me, he actually got sick and passed away. And then the church got someone else. And during that time, I really didn't think too much about being anything other than a licensed minister. So I just kept doing everything that I was doing, kept doing everything I was doing.
Right.
But then when I got a little bit older, I kept hearing God say, "There's more for you to do. There's
Right.
more for you to do." And I'm like, okay. I was just like, what else can I do? So,
Right.
then COVID hit. So,
Right.
during that time, lots of churches closed down from
Yes,
you
they
going
did.
inside and you
Yes.
started watching things online.
Hmm.
So we did that. I did that. But that really wasn't really appealing to me because I
Right.
felt like I was distracted.
Right.
Because you're like watching church and you're supposed to be in church, but if you're
Yes.
at home,
Oh
what's to
yeah.
stop you from getting up, going in
Yeah.
the kitchen,
Yes.
getting up, doing some laundry,
Right.
or either you decide, well, it's on now, I missed this part, I can go
Hmm.
back and watch it
And watch it. Yeah.
another time. So I was like, I can't do this. I don't function well like that.
Okay.
So, once it got a little bit better, so
Hmm.
that's when I started going to different churches, and visiting different ones. So when I went to this one church in 2022, so that pastor of that church, when I got there, the second time I was there, and he asked me, he said, "Why do you tell me that you was a minister?" I said, "Because I didn't feel that I needed to. I was just visiting." And he was like, "No." I said, "Yeah, I'm just visiting." And
Right.
he said, "You're the one that I've been expecting." I'm thinking, "Are you expecting me?"
Right.
I'm thinking, "Really?"
Hmm.
And he was like, "Yeah, you're the one that I've been expecting." He said, "You're the one that God told me about that I'm supposed to ordain." And I'm thinking, "Nope." I said, "Why?" Because in
Yes.
my mind, I'm like, "Why?" And,
Right.
so he went on to explain it was things that I was going to have to do later on that I need to be ordained in order to do it.
Right.
And I'm thinking, no, 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 it's okay.
Right.
And so he like went on. He said, "Well, you understand that as a woman, a lot of people really don't look at you as a real minister. They
Right.
really don't. You get to do like little stuff, speak at like women program and stuff like that, but
Yes.
that's pretty much it." He
Yeah.
was like, "You need to get ready. God is like getting you in place to do things." And I'm like, "Okay, fine." So we like kept on, kept on, kept on, and
Hmm.
I kept going there, and it was good. It was really good. So June 25th, 2023, that's when he ordained me. And I was just like, wow, okay. But
Right.
then I was like, okay, so now I have to pray and ask God to show me what He
Right.
want me to do. Show
Right.
me the next steps that He want me to take. And I kept saying, I need to find my purpose
Right.
because we all have a purpose. We might not know it, but
Right.
I'm like, I need to find my purpose. So I
Right.
prayed, asked God to
Hmm.
show me my purpose. And I was like, God, I'm ready, I'm willing, and I'm able to do what you want me to do. So show me what you want me to do. That's what I kept saying over and over and over again. But I still kept going to like different churches, visiting, but nothing felt like that's where I was supposed to be. Like that's where I could be used in a good way.
Right.
So then, I like met this lady, this wonderful lady. So she asked me to come in with her to this
Hmm.
church, and I was like, sure, I'll go.
Okay.
And I went, and the name of the church was Purpose Movement.
Uh,
But at the time, it didn't dawn on me. I was just
right.
like, oh, it's nice, it was
Right.
nice. They're a leader. Wonderful pastor, Pastor Marty Mays.
Okay.
Wonderful pastor. I had to sneak that in there, had to get a shout out to my pastor. It was great. And I was like, oh, this is really nice. This is really nice. I
Hmm.
said, it's really nice. But I still didn't think that I was going to actually become a member.
Right.
So I kept going, in between going to like other churches.
Right.
And then, I was like, okay, I need to finish this book that I started years ago, but I didn't finish. I said, I need to finish writing this book, need to get this book published. So my kids kept telling me, what are you waiting on? And I'm like, oh, I got time. He was like, you need to finish this book. I was like, oh, I got time. I said, I'll like do that later.
Okay.
So I actually took time and I finished writing the book.
Right.
And I finished writing the book and I published the book. And when I looked at the title, the last part in the title
Hmm.
is Overcoming Pain to Find Purpose.
That's right.
How great is that?
That is great.
After everything that I had been through,
Hmm.
I was overcoming my pain to find purpose.
Yes.
God led me back to Purpose Movement Church,
Hmm.
and that's where I am.
Wow.
And I was like, thank you, Lord. I prayed for to find my purpose,
Right.
and I did. And I found it through my book that I wrote. And it was not about making money. My book is to help those who are hurting,
Hmm.
is to help those who have gone through abuse, trauma, or whatever. Let you know that even though you've gone through something,
Right.
you can still come out.
Yes.
But you have to forgive and you have to heal.
Right.
But you can come out. So this has been the best year of my life
Wow.
because I'm actually doing what I feel God called me to do.
Right. And that's it right there. You know what that means? You have your happily ever after.
I do. I
Yes.
have my happily ever after, even
Yeah.
though I'm still single, but that's all right. I have
Right.
my happily ever after. And
Yeah.
I don't really watch Hallmark anymore because I
Hmm.
know that is not real.
Right.
I don't even watch it anymore. I watch
Right.
other things
Yes.
because I'm happy and I
Yes.
don't need to watch those shows because I know that they're not real. So my thing is to make sure that I'm happy
Hmm.
before I can help anybody else
Right.
because that was what I always want to be, people pleaser,
Yes.
even if I was hurt, even if I wasn't happy, as long
Right.
as everybody else was happy. But
Okay.
now I want to be happy too.
Right.
So that is what I do. So I'm
Yeah.
going out telling people about my book every chance that I get. If anybody asks me to like talk about it,
Hmm.
I'll like, well, let me pray about it first to make sure
Right.
that this is where God want me to be, what
Right.
God want me to do. And
Hmm.
if God said, yes, do it, then I'll go. I'll talk
Right.
about it. I'll share it. If somebody wanted to like call me and just
Yes.
talk or meet and have lunch and just talk, that's what I'll do because I have time now.
Yes.
I retired, so I'm just like right now, I'm just doing what God wants me to do
Right.
and having a great time doing it.
All right. So tell people how they can reach out to you if they, whether it be social media or email, if you have a public email that you use or anything.
I do.
How do people reach out to you?
Okay. You can reach out to me on Facebook and on Instagram. I think my information is there. It's under Kathy Redding Strozier. Reach me there. And my email is K period Jabez, that's JABEZ 99 at gmail.com. You can reach out to me if you want to talk, if you want to know about my book, if you want to order a book, if you want me to come and speak or whatever reasonable now. I need you to know that. So yeah, just contact me and I will do my best. And if you're stuck somewhere hurting, and if you need to know what do I need to do in order to feel better, what do I need to do in order to heal, call me, not call me, email me, message me, and we'll talk. And I'll do my best to help you because everybody deserves to be happy.
Yes, they do. Well, all right. I want to end this on you. If there's somebody out there that is either watching now or somebody that may be watching this playback, whether it be this week or next year, what words of advice would you give them? What would you leave somebody that's in pain tonight? Could you give them a word?
Yes, I would tell them you do not have to stay in the place where you are. If you feel stuck, don't worry. You don't have to stay stuck. Just trust in God, lean on God, pray a lot, but also know that if anything happened to you when you was younger, teenage years, or even now, it is not your fault. You did not make them hurt you, and you do not have to just hide it because now there are places out there where you can get help. There are people who are willing to help you, but you first have to make that first step. And the first step is acknowledge that there's a problem, acknowledge that you was hurt. And then once you do that, then once you start that healing process, you first have to forgive yourself for just all the things that you talked about yourself. You call yourself where you didn't think you was worth anything. You didn't think you was this or you didn't think you was that. No, you are worth a lot. No, you are wonderful. You are unique and you are fearfully made and you are a child of God. Regardless of what you've done, God still loves you and he's waiting on you. That way he can help you get out of what you have done and how you feel that you're stuck and you can't move forward.
Well, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Here we have her, Kathlyn Strozier, guys. Thank you so much for coming on B2Deep. I hope to talk to you very soon in the future. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your afternoon. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. And everybody have a great evening and be blessed.
All right, guys. Catch
Thank
us next
you. All
time
right.
on B2Deep.